Hello and welcome. My name is Crash, and today I am here with two very special guests. They are the translation team for a couple of Shonen Jump titles you probably have read, which is Finn K, the letterer, and David Evelyn, he's the translator. And they work together in Do Retry, and now they're working in MamaYuyu. And Finn also worked on Long Last Pals Living Their Breast Life, which is a title that I loved because when I read that title, I automatically went showed my girlfriend. And Raincoat Kids, those are the titles that I saw from your portfolio. I don't know if you worked on anything more that you want to add.
Um, no, a lot of the other stuff is just I use an alias for, so.
Okay. And then David, I think the big one is Undead Unluck.
Oh, I was about to say, you mean the Witches of Adamus? Uh,
This is the big one right now. You also
yeah,
like Kaiju number 8 is
yeah,
it's pretty big as well. And
yeah, yeah,
then Ichigaki's Out of Control,
yeah.
ITLC, Super Smartphone,
Mm.
uh, Gokuraku Guy, you're also working on it right now.
Yep, yep.
Um, which
Shoujo Null.
Shoujo no, I also saw
Yeah.
that. Actually, I want to ask, wasn't that like your first Shonen Jump translation?
Which one was my first one?
Yeah,
Uh, so like in the app, right? Like if
yeah.
I like, okay, because technically the first Shonen Jump property I worked on was Tokyo Ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was like the Rizaki, the art book.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
the first title I've worked on was Undead Unluck.
Oh, that's nice. So you started like on in a big one.
Well,
It wasn't at
yeah,
the
it
time,
was
but
tumultuous.
yeah, I know.
Tumultuously, yeah. So,
As a Undead fan, there were some times where like we were afraid the thing was gonna get canceled,
oh, I was afraid too. Don't worry.
but yeah, we got through.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We made it.
And outside of like Shonen Jump, you did Elk. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Elk. Yep.
Yeah. Uh, a lot of Nekopara I saw like video games or visual
Yes.
novels, if you wanna call them that.
Hmm.
Yes. I started professionally uh for Japanese English media translation in visual novels, working for a Sekai project, and I still do to this day. So,
That's cool. And then
yeah.
you also, this is actually one of my favorite things. Even though it's probably like not that big in your portfolio, you did the initial designs for Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
I love that fact.
I yeah, that's like the weird little tidbit of information I throw out when the game is mentioned because
Yeah,
my college friend Dan, he's the guy who
that's
made it.
yeah. Dan Salvato.
So yeah, so he's my friend from college, and we like a long time ago, like how long ago was that? Like 5, maybe 6 years at this point. He just talked about like this little game that he wanted to make as like a, you know, little thing he wanted to do before his serious projects, quote unquote. And then yeah, and then that ended up being his most serious project. It's really funny.
Yeah,
Um, and I was like there like through most of the inception, and I kind of had to go my separate ways when I actually got more into translation and stuff like that.
but it's
So
so cool. I remember the first time I heard about the game. I think was a little bit before it exploded. A friend of mine is really into games too. He played because the game was
yeah,
free, and
yeah,
he knows I love like horror stuff. So he was like to me, he was like, "Hey, this game is free. You need to play it right now. I'm not gonna
yep.
tell you anything else. You need to play it right now." So I was lucky that I got to experience the game like with no spoilers, which I think is really hard for people
Hmm.
nowadays to do.
Yeah, it's really funny just because how it blew up like that. It was like almost designed that way because of the way that he did it with like being free, and he got like a bunch of his famous friends to like play the game initially, and then it just kind of spread like wildfire,
Yeah.
and then that's how it went.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, today
Hmm.
we're here to talk a little bit more of the Shonen Jump side of stuff because that's
Yep.
the bulk of my channel.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so yeah, the first thing I want to talk about is not really a question or anything. Is more about how cool it is that we have the the capacity to read these smaller titles from Shonen Jump, which like 10 years ago we wouldn't be able like. Ten
Oh
years
yeah.
ago, like Do Retry would not be
No,
translated
yeah,
at all.
right.
I don't think like even with illegal scans we would get like some of these canceled titles, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of them that we didn't. And so I think it's super cool that we're now able to have access to the full magazine, and even if we don't like every title, because a lot of these titles the quality sometimes lacks, but it's cool that we were
Yeah.
able to read it. And I think a lot of us end up like falling in love with one title or two that maybe everyone else hates and maybe gets canceled early, but we still love it anyways. In my case, it's like a Gravity Boys. I
Mm.
absolutely adore that manga and I loved it. I
Hmm.
was like so sad when it got canceled. And I pretty much everyone that I talk about in the Shonen Jump community has those titles. I have a couple of friends of mine who's actually is Ichigoki is Out of Control. They're really sad that it got canceled.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
that was you know, the funniest thing is like that kind of stuff is like it's amazing that you can have a like and dislike like that nowadays. You
exactly.
know?
That, that's my favorite part. Even the ones that I don't like, I like to have the ability to
Yeah.
not like them. And
Hmm.
to be
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
experience them.
Just the fact that we get such a wide variety of different stuff, honestly, like in this day and age, there are so many things to pick from, even in Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
It's just wildly awesome that we get to experience that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you were like manga fans in the mid 2000s,
Hmm.
especially like for me, which I was in Portugal and we didn't really have like English manga nor Portuguese manga,
Right.
was rough. Was rough. But we're in a good place right now. I think
Yeah.
both like Portugal and America, especially like English based manga. So
Yeah,
there's so many
we're
stuff.
getting on there. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're getting there.
and I love that. So I think the first question that I want to ask, according to this in this topic, is: do you guys have one of those like cancel titles that you guys loved? Not
Oh, I
necessarily
have
one that
so
have-
many.
Yeah.
I have so many, and one is actually Super Smartphone.
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
I oh
It's so
I
good.
I love Super Smartphone. That series, I was so sad when it ended. I absolutely adored it. And of course, Kyla's work lettering it was amazing.
Mm.
And Aliens Area was one of the ones that I was also really sad that got canceled.
Yeah.
Those are probably like the top absolute two. And Doraemon actually. I really liked that one.
The wrong one.
Doron, dororon, as I say.
Yeah, yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
The
Yeah.
thing that I like about that one was the CFX of when the monsters we killed would also actually like doron, doron, doron. as well.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Such a small
was-
detail that I liked.
Yeah, the sound effects were like a part of what was actually happening, which they already are, but you know, it's like
Yeah.
that little tiny effect that added to it. And I thought Aliens Area's art was so it was so fun and unique to me. There was so much that needed to be explored in that, and I'm so sad we don't get it.
Yeah, I needed Aliens Area to be just full on kind of like world building, a little bit less action, in my opinion, because it was really like the aliens and this the social status and everything that I found interesting as well.
Yeah.
Do you have one, David?
You know, like I'm trying to think of like the ones that I've worked on as like and the ones that have just been in the magazine. Like the ones I worked on personally, I was kind of sad to see like I Tell C go, just because
Yeah.
like it had promise and it just got weirder and weirder until the point where it's just like, okay, we have to cut this off.
Yeah,
You know, like this has to go somewhere. But it was just
but the ending
nowhere.
was pretty good, I think.
The ending was as good as you can get for a canceled title,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
You know, like it was nice. I was also sad when Super Smartphone ended. I thought that one had potential too.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think Super
Cool.
Smartphone maybe I'm wrong, but I think one of the things that stopped him from getting more popular was right. The premise sounds a little bit more dumb than it actually is. Once you like, a lot of people didn't want to give the manga a try, from my experience, and the ones that actually did end up liking
Yeah.
it.
I
So
think it was doomed kind of from the title.
yeah,
Like when I saw the title, I didn't know what to expect of it because it was like Sugoi Small, and I'm like, huh? Okay, is
Yeah.
it like a comedy? I don't know, like, and then like I saw the title and it had like spooky bits on it. I'm like, oh, so it's like a thriller? Okay. And then I read it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of get behind this. This is
yeah,
pretty cool. Like it's got like, kind of Death Note elements to it, and if they kind of like lean more into that and not into like the kind of like I'm super smart and here's my super smart opinion that's always right kind of thing, like where the writing just kind of goes like he has to know this, so he will definitely know this, and we'll just go in that direction.
Mm.
It it could have been a contender. I feel like just had a little bit more focus,
yeah.
a little bit more focus on the like game aspect because they got to that point around like what, like 12 chapters in, and like with the other smartphone
Yeah,
holders,
they just
Yeah,
and
show
yeah.
them all of them. That's when I
and in,
was
in
like, nah, this is
yeah,
gonna get canceled.
I've been reading volume 3, and we found there's like a epilogue in that that has like basically everybody from that little show, little thingy majigger in there,
Yeah,
and like they just used them. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I wanted to see the wrestler guy. He looked cool.
yeah, we didn't. I forgot because they were like 12 or something. But
Hmm.
they should have introduced them like a little bit more slowly. But I understand with Shonen Jump being what it is that they probably like you need to do something. It's like okay, I'm gonna throw them all.
Oh, and
So
also one that I didn't work on, but I did like was Phantom Seer,
oh, everyone
and that
likes
just
Phantom
got
Seer.
I like
Mm.
Phantom Seer.
Yeah, that's became a meme on my channel
Yeah,
because I like me and Roboko, and people is just like they say that I was the one who canceled Phantom Seer.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
the rookie curse, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
but
So
I don't know. It was I liked Phantom Seer as well. Especially again, I like horror, and the art was so great.
yeah,
But I do think Miyu and Roji did a lot of what Phantom Seer did, like 10 years or a little bit more than 10 years because we're old. I'm old. Uh, um, but it did kind of like similar. So if anyone likes Phantom Seer, you should check out Miyu and Roji. From Shonen Jump as well. Moving on to the next thing, the main thing that I wanted to talk about today was the process of getting the chapter, um, the raw Japanese chapter, to when we get the translated version, kind of like the exact same time of the Japanese. Because some people don't think we do because of leaks, which sucks. But we do get them at the same time as the Japanese get them.
yep,
It's midnight. Actually, we're kind of getting them early because I don't see many people like wake up at midnight to go
yeah.
read Jump.
They so like we get them at the same time as like the street date is supposed to. Well, actually, we get them at the same time as the digital versions goes up,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're not allowed to talk about them until the street date. So if you've ever noticed, there are times where Shonen Jump doesn't post about it on their Twitter until the day after. That's why,
Uh,
because
Hmm.
sometimes the street date will be like on Tuesday instead of Monday
I
because
see.
for some odd reason, you know what I mean? And it'll be like they can only talk about it when they're that's what I think happens sometimes because I'm
Huh.
like, oh, I wonder why they don't post about it, and I'm like, oh wait, they probably can't.
Yeah,
So like, yeah, like that kind of stuff. Like we're
literally.
literally getting it at the same time as Japan digitally.
Yeah,
So
Wow, I had no idea.
I don't. It makes sense the street date because that's when the bulk of like the Japanese people get it, I guess.
right,
But yeah, that's interesting because I didn't knew that either.
Yeah, it's just something I noticed like from like the last like 2 weeks or 3 weeks that they did that. Like I'm like,
Mm.
huh. And I noticed I read the Japanese like Jump Twitter and they're like, this week is coming out on Tuesday. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, I
yeah.
see. I just pieced it together. I don't know if that's actually like true or not, but it looks like it is.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't actually pay much attention to the Shonen Jump Twitter because I know when the manga comes out, and I'll just go
Yeah,
and read
Yeah.
it.
it's still good SEO and stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
So
they need to do it, and it's cool because if you like a chapter, you can like share it, or a manga, you can just like
yeah,
share it. And go, hey, go check it out, the new series.
yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah, actually, one question I don't know if you guys can say this, so tell me if you
Mhm.
can. But how early do you get the chapters? Because from what I saw from like interviews with the
Mhm.
mangaka side, they kind of give the idea that the Shonen Jump, like the magazine, is done about like 3 weeks before it goes up. But I don't think you guys get it like a chapter like 3 weeks before. I may be wrong.
It depends on like the series too, like if it's where it's published. Um, because like for weekly, it's like it's weekly is different from uh
Jump Plus.
Jump Square or Jump Plus and stuff like that. So like it really depends on like the mangaka schedule, but for weekly, it's usually a week before, and that can range anywhere from usually at the end of the week we get a chapter, and I don't even want to like I used to be able to be like say like oh we get it on this day, but usually like it doesn't happen that like that
Yeah.
anymore. We just get a chapter sometime at the end of the week, and then we get until whenever the editor that we're working with says, "Okay, turn this in, translator," and then the letterer will have
Hmm.
enough time to work on it afterwards.
Okay, so you guys don't get it at the same time. Which makes sense. Like the translator gets it first, and then the letterer gets it after.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I'm.
we get the files in at the same time,
Mm.
but we
Yeah.
don't. We have different turn-in dates, like different deadlines
Yeah, it makes
to
Yeah,
sense
exactly.
yeah.
because yeah, the letterer wouldn't be able to do most, I guess,
Yeah.
without the translator.
Yeah, I just have to wait for David, and then when I send it off, it's like, all right, we're done until next time.
Yeah,
Yeah. Actually, it's like you have to wait until the editor gets done with whatever I'm done with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they have
Because
to do like their own pass through first, for
yeah,
like edits or whatever, and then I
yeah.
get it.
Because there's actually, I've done it before. There's a talk I did for the Japanese. Oh my God, I'm gonna mess up their name. The Japanese translators of New York, where I did like a full breakdown of my simulpub process at the time. That's on YouTube. You can watch that.
yeah.
It's filled with explicitives because that's how I talk. And I didn't have control at the time. And there's also a article on like the Naruto official website where they interviewed our deputy editor in chief, uh, Alexi, and Morimoto, the translator, and they just went through the entire process, like from beginning to end. If you ever want to check that out, that gives a very clear process, like step by step breakdown of it too.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm definitely gonna check it out then.
yeah, yeah,
If I
I'll
find
even link it to you.
okay, because I might put it
Yeah,
in the description then for if anyone else
yeah,
wants.
I'll link it to you
Nice.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Because that got featured in V Jump just recently.
Oh,
Um, and Alexi was posting it
that's
on his
awesome.
Twitter. He's just like, "Oh, look, I'm in V Jump now." I'm like, oh.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to note when you about simulpubs is just that, like I said, mangaka are different depending on where they're published. So, like,
Yeah.
Weekly has a very set schedule. Jump Plus, kind of nebulous. Like, when I'm done, I'll give it to you. And then, like, for Kaiju number 8, like, I get chapters in. Sometimes I used to get them weekly. I used to get them two at a time, three at a time, sometimes,
Oh, okay.
in the
Oh
beginning.
wow.
Yeah. And then that slowly changed when he went to bi-weekly. And then after that, I got like maybe tri-weekly sometimes, like so
Mm.
that got a little bit more nebulous with the deadlines from the mangaka to us. And then like Gokuraku guy always kind of comes in at the end of the month. And we usually get like a few days to work on that. Um, but sometimes he's generous and Sensei will actually give the chapter in a little early, so we have some more time to work on it. Um, but other than that, like, weekly is like usually the only one that has like a really, really set schedule
Yeah.
because it's a print magazine that goes up weekly, so it kind of has to go like that, like bam, bam,
Hmm.
bam.
Yeah.
So
But it,
There were some moments in Do Retry because usually I only ever do the chapters just like all in one day because they're short chapters anyway, so
yeah.
I don't really need even the entire day to do it. But for some of the pages for Do Retry, there were some pretty insane sound effects that needed to be done,
Mm.
and I'd be lucky if I got it early enough to not have to wake up incredibly early to make sure I wouldn't get surprised by anything,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I get it. 'Cause,
especially that first chapter.
Yeah,
the
first chapter's pretty safe.
Yeah, first chapters are triple the size.
Yeah, they're about 50 pages or so.
Sometimes, unless you're Ichigoki
Or High School Family.
Oh yeah, yeah.
or High School.
I think High School Family got like 2 chapters just to on like the debut issue for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. Usually it's like I think the sizes are actually like set. Like they have a page count where like it's like 24, 36, 54, something like that. I think there's like a set page count, but usually people pick the bigger page counts just because you want more.
Most of them tend to pick the big one, but I see like occasionally a gag manga being shorter for some reason.
Yeah, it's usually like gag manga and stuff like that. Usually they go with like shorter first chapters, but then you get like, I don't know, Kaiju number 8. I think their first chapter was like 60 something, and I think Gokuraku guys was like, wasn't that like 150? I forget
It
how long that
was
chapter
it was
was.
a lot, I
I
remember.
haven't read it.
It's let me
I
just
should-
check. I just want to see the
You totally
page
should.
count.
It's
I
very
should.
good.
You
I-
should.
I've been
73. Sorry.
That's still a lot. I've
Yeah.
been people have been asking me to read that manga since the one shot was out.
Actually, yeah, you should. It's volume 2, and I can talk about Gokuraku guy is coming to print, so volume 2 has the one shot in it. So
Okay.
Oh,
should read
I'm
that
so
as well.
excited.
yeah, that's public knowledge if you know about the Japanese version. So that's whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the volume 2 has the one shot in it, so you should just definitely read Gokuraku guy. It's a very good manga.
It is, yeah.
And it's very pretty.
I try to not read a lot of like ongoing manga because
I
I'm
see.
really bad at it. I read all of like the Weekly Shonen Jump,
Yeah.
and then very few others. Because for
Gotcha.
example, I used to read Dandadan
Mhm.
weekly,
Hmm.
and I'm like 24. Actually, I think I'm like 40 chapters behind now.
Same.
It's not like chapter 80.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
Dandadan. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Chainsaw is the only one. Oh, I'm wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Chainsaw is the only one that I can read weekly because if I don't, someone is gonna spoil me like within like 10 minutes.
Oh,
so I
yeah.
need to get into that.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
But normally I prefer like read things that they're finished and I can binge it because even like for example in that Unluck I reread everything for a video I made when was the end of Spring Arc was just, I think
Oh,
it was-
okay. Yeah.
so it was really like when it was about to get to Ragnarok. So I just read
Yep.
everything, and it was so much better experience, and I managed to simulate everything. Like a lot of like stories arcs of every character was so much easier and much more meaningful to read, like binged
Mhm.
than in a weekly pace to me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I just prefer.
No, I totally get you. I mean, like, if it were for the fact that I work on simulpub manga, I would prefer to read something that is complete.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I'm used to like reading the serialization style of week to week. It's just that, I can't because I work on it, so it's like,
Yeah.
I
sucks to
think
be me.
I think it's easier to simulate like the story beats as well if you're working on them though. Like
Yeah,
you have to
it's
translate everything.
Yeah.
like you just mentioned the spring arc. That was like my personal, like I was like Sisyphus rolling the boulder uphill with that one. I'm like, oh my
Oh
God,
yeah, geez.
this is a goddamn mess.
I I remember your thread about the whole haiku
Yeah,
part of it,
Yeah.
and I
yeah,
didn't even realize that's what was even happening until
yeah.
you said something about it, and I was like, "Holy shit, poor
Yeah.
David."
Yeah.
That was something I didn't notice until after, I think it was chapter 70 or something. That was like the first appearance of him, I think.
Hmm.
That was like after it gone live for like I think like 3 days. And then I saw like I was reading Japanese Twitter and I was reading like what the Undead fans were talking about, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, the 757 in spring speech." I'm like,
Oh
757?
no.
Oh, wait a second. I went back and I'm like, one, two, son of a bitch. So then I had to like email my editor, and
Oh,
this is before I think she went on leave, and this is like the last thing she did before she went on leave for a
oh my
while.
God.
Was we had to rewrite all of his lines and then like have them relettered and then upload that back to because not only was it on the Viz website, it's on the Manga Plus website. So you have to submit them to both because
Yeah.
they're separate entities.
Wow.
And usually we don't do that unless it's like a really important thing. And I don't know how important, much more important you can get than someone's speech pattern
Poor.
being completely wrong.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so we had to
The
do that. And
it's the excitement of weekly when you don't even know what's really gonna happen or what's to come, honestly.
no,
Yeah, that actually leads to one of the other things I want to talk about. Like, you guys don't have a lot of like contact with the actual mangaka to know what's coming
no,
after.
No,
no,
You just have to
not at all.
guess.
no.
You don't know
We
what
just
One Piece is.
we just guess. I mean, like the thing is, after a while, your intuitions get a little bit better. You
Yeah.
know, I try personally to like mistake, like try to um, like idiot proof my translations so they're not like something can come in and be like, oh, it was actually this. I'll try to like make it a little fuzzy just so
Mm.
it can it won't be so concrete because that's the thing about working on like volume manga where I have the foresight to look ahead and see if like something is pertinent to the plot or if something isn't pertinent to the plot. Like in the beginning of Undead Unluck, uh there's spoilers for anyone who's like watching this or reading this or whatever. You should you should turn the volume off and then just skip this part. But and then Crash will like wave his hands to make sure it's good.
I can put like the timestamp or
The
something in the
timestamp.
Oh
screen.
yeah, that's
You
true.
can do that.
So like in Undead, there's no stars in the beginning, right? There's no
Yeah.
celestial bodies.
Oh,
Uh,
that was a plot twist that sold me onto the manga.
yeah, that's like the one that made everyone go like, "What?" Um, and I think in the weekly version, I was like, "Huh?" So I translated what was on the page, and I think there was like one line where I wasn't quite sure what Gina was saying. So it was like instead of the rules, it was like my rules or something like that. Because I didn't know the concept of the rules yet, like the rules of the
Mm-hmm.
world. They explained that in chapter 9. So like I was like, okay, I had to like kind of fuzzy translate it because I didn't quite understand what she was saying, and it was kind of ambiguous. But
Is that here?
once we no, actually, it's fixed in there.
Ah,
We've because once we go to print with the volume version, we get to like do rewrites and fix stuff that was like rather ambiguous. Like I think in chapter 2 or chapter 3, no, chapter 3 or 4, I think I refer to Gina as Master Gina instead of Miss Gina because I didn't know if Gina was a woman or not at that point. So I was just kind of like in the dark, just like, okay, I'm gonna pick a gender, and then
Yeah.
that was the wrong one. So in the volume version, that's fixed. But if you go on the website, you can still find the wrong version.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that you have to deal with when you're working, like by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
You know?
I guess it's really hard to not only predict but to try to put what the intentions of the author in the translation. I think that's the biggest complaint I see a lot of people like have with translations in general.
Mhm.
Like, even in this case for Finn, even in case of like the lettering, you kind of have to try to make it in the same, like similar to what the author intends.
Yes.
It draws and everything.
Yes.
How do you go about that?
It's complicated question. Every time I like open something to work on, especially for like, well, actually for both Do Retry and MamaYuyu at least, because both authors are very intentional with the kinds of like, like every single thing that they do is a choice that they make, So you have to like keep that in mind. If like they draw something this way, it's a choice, and you want to keep the same like feeling and flow that they're gonna give. And so like a lot of the sound effects in Do Retry even, like in the first chapter, there's that big page, like the giant spread with the handwritten text on the side, that the author put, and it's used with like a specific brush, and I'm like, all right, how am I gonna match this brush to give the same kind of feel that he was wanting to like convey, like how are all the kanji and like the letter forms written, that kind of thing. Because it is all a choice that they make, and I want to be able to give the same love that they're putting into the manga, so that English readers can enjoy it as closely as possible
Yeah.
to how it's originally intended. And especially for MamaYuyu, like first chapter, you can tell they know they got plans. Like their paneling and sequencing and the use of their sound effects is so precise. Because even in, I think it was I don't even remember, chapter 2 or 3, one of the I think it was chapter 2 where like the final spread in that one of the panels was the sound effect.
Yep, it was
And
the last page of that.
yeah, and so that's one of those things where it's like, for Simulpub, I don't gotta worry about it because
Yeah.
because it's you just subtitle it. But if it was something like I had to hand draw or whatever, that's one of the things that's up in the air. It's like, how do you even replicate that when it's so integral to the art?
Right.
And everything is very different depending on what you're working on. I'm sure you can hear my cat screaming. That's cool.
I can bring mine.
He's very interested in lettering, actually. He's a big fan.
No, okay.
But every work has like their own thing, and every time I go into it, I always like read through the chapter first, before I start doing anything, just to see what I'm about to be up against. And just look closely at like, what kind of brush are they using? How did they write, if it's like hand-drawn sound effect or text, like how did they write this? Like how do they start the letter, and then how do they end it? Like how do they physically write it? That's the kind of stuff that I try to keep in mind to make it as closely as possible to the original to give that same feel. And it's very fun, but it is very challenging at points.
Yeah. With Do Retry, I know exactly what page you're talking about. It's very striking. I haven't seen the original, just
Oh,
translator
and
one, but
that first page in the first chapter, there's I think in like the second to last chapter or like the third to last chapter, there's another page very similar to that where it's
Yeah.
another big handwritten text and that's also in a different brush. And I was like, I gotta do
I
it
know.
for Kurizaka. I gotta do this for him, you know.
Yeah. I think you were talking about like chapter 18. It was like the very
Yeah.
like second to last chapter, and
hmm
it was like almost the exact same dialogue, but like it was different. But yeah, you did
Yeah, it
not. Yeah.
it was like slightly different. Um and it was just set up differently too because they were in two different bubbles.
Right. Right.
Um, so so yeah, it was both of those were challenging, but you know, that's kind of part of the fun is figuring out how to like how you can even mimic, you know, as close as possible for the same kind of emotion that he wants to convey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got two hard series with that. Like Do Retry is very handwritten, like you said, and Mama Yuyu. Like,
Yeah.
the thing you're saying, like with volumes, I love to see how you tackle that. I
Oh,
can't
I'd love to
even.
do it.
I hope you get to do it because
I
I
was
love the manga
I
so
was
far.
hoping for like I was hoping well, after a certain point, it was kind of like, all right, Do Retry's probably not gonna really make it,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you know, that even Do Retry with all of the difficult challenges that it gave me, I was like, oh, redoing these sound effects and like, you know, retouching them, it would be very challenging because that art is um so detailed.
Mhm.
Um, but it would have been so fun. It would have been so cool. And I
Maybe
Mhm.
hope
they can still
maybe,
give
you
you
know,
those.
maybe yeah, maybe. Maybe Mama Yuyu. I'm rooting for it so bad. I love this manga already.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for it. It would
Yeah.
be
Me too.
so it would be so fun.
I really hope it succeeds because I think like the first chapter was my favorite Shonen Jump chapter one since like Sakamoto days,
Yeah.
and it's been so great till so far. All the chapters have been amazing. The new character
hmm
is she's so cool.
I love her.
You,
She's
you
so cute.
you know what the
She's my
funniest thing is?
favorite.
I found out like the author's like previous like one shot that he did. I think he did the rookie the golden rookie
Yeah, the Golden
uh
Cup.
cup, and the one shot that he did has a character that looks just like her.
I saw that too.
He really just
Yeah.
loves the design.
Yeah, I like
She's
it's
great.
not the same character, but it just looks just like her.
Yeah.
I think
And
he really likes that character design.
It's
there's
so good.
Kenji Tsuruda, who's done Emanon, which is one of my favorite manga of all time. His main
Mhm.
characters of all manga all look the same.
All look
They
the
have
same,
the
yeah.
same design, and he just loves to draw that, and I'm here for it.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, hey, live your best life.
It's those kinds of choices that are like I that's the thing with manga is like I'm always like there's a choice being made here and I want to know it and I want to see why even if it's you know even if it's something that like oh it's not a you know quote unquote good choice or a
Yeah.
popular choice or whatever. I'm like
why?
it's fun though.
Yeah,
It's cool. Everyone
Yeah.
I grew up as an artist in the first place. Like I
Mhm.
have a lifelong history of just like drawing myself. And so I absolutely adore just comics, manga specifically in general, because it's like everyone's got their own their own story to tell in their
Yep.
own way, even if, you know, it's tropey or, you
Yeah.
know, anything like that. It's their own telling of it. And it's just so cool that we get to see it.
yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I like manga a little bit more than anime. And this isn't to this anime to anyone, like anime fans out there. But the reason,
Suck it, anime fans.
Yeah, let's get them real mad.
Yeah. No.
like the fact that manga is done by like generally just one or two people, you get to see a lot more of that of their personality than I think even the anime
Mm-hmm.
adaptations of those works tend to do. where we get to see the details, and even like Do Retry and Bone Collection, just we can see Jun Kurosawa, I think that's
Kira Rozaka.
Kiro
Hirorazaka, yeah.
we can see him, like his style and his growth and his choices through
Yeah.
his manga, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm also like I'm from an art background too. I have a degree in visual arts. So and I wanted to be a mangaka actually. That
Oh,
was
bro, me
my
too.
dream. That was my dream. And I actually submitted manuscripts to publishers like back in college, and they all
Ooh.
got turned down or just no reply at all. But like,
Yeah.
I still submitted just so I could say I did. So I have EP. Uh,
You didn't lose
I have
anything.
cred. Yeah, I have cred. I have cred on the streets.
Yeah.
You already did better than me, because I always wanted to write books, and I never finished anything. I
Mm.
started, but I never just so
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like always someone's like, dreamed to be something one day,
yeah.
I wanted to be a mangaka. I wanted to like be a comic. I wanted to be a sequential artist. I just I love
Mhm.
sequential art. I love comics. I love manga. I love just all of it. I like the medium of comics and sequential art.
Yeah.
And I love working on them. Because I also like writing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm an avid writer, so I like writing, and if I can combine those skills, I have a very niche skill set that is perfectly attuned to this line of work.
Mhm.
So I want to use it in some way, shape, or form. I thought I was going to be a letterer, and then I was like, this is way too much work for me. So I always give I always
So
give
you went with
props.
translation, the
I went
easy side, huh?
the easy side. Yeah, I went with the easier side, which is completely rearranging a different language into another language.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, the easy part.
Oh,
Uh, but I always have such big respect for letterers and everybody on the design part of, because those are the real unsung heroes if you really think about it. Like they're the ones that you literally are not supposed to pay attention to per se,
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's one of the things that I when I like started out lettering and trying to learn about it, that was one of the things I heard Sarah talk about, I think, in
mhm.
the Manga Mavericks roundtable episode, was like
Uh-huh.
you're not supposed to really notice lettering because it's supposed to blend in like with the art like the same way.
Right.
And if it stands out, it's usually like it's not great because it'll take
Yeah.
away from what's actually happening.
Right.
And I've kept that in my soul ever since then.
Yeah. But I totally understand. There's some stuff that when it's done well, it's not noticeable. I think lettering is one of them. Paneling as well. Unless you're MamaYuyu or Witch Hat Atelier.
Right.
But normally speaking, if good paneling isn't as noticeable as like bad paneling, and lettering, I feel like it's the same thing, where if it's badly done, that's when people will notice, and it kind of
Yeah.
sucks, because that means that if you do a good job, people won't.
Won't notice.
Yeah, they won't notice. They won't care. I guess.
Unless you're like you, Crash, unless like you're aware of like what lettering is, or if you're like another letterer or translator, then ever ever since I started lettering, I was immediately, it all started standing out to me. And so I think like as a reader, you probably don't even think about it. At least I didn't, because I was just like, wow, the pretty art, the story.
Mhm.
Woo.
I was the same. Honestly,
Yeah.
I started like thinking more about it, I guess, when I met Jin, not Finn, Jin, who's the letterer of Mian Roboko.
Mm.
And I started
Oh,
talking
okay,
with
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, because he said he was the letterer of Mian Roboko, and that's kind of like when I started like noticing, oh yeah, this thing matters, like, which especially like titles like Chainsaw Man and things like that I started like noticing a little bit of like the fonts that they
Right.
use, and being a little bit more conscious about that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, no, that you like it. I'm gonna bring up you ever watch Futurama?
yeah.
Okay, so there's that quote that God does, and he's like, when you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all.
Oh, I haven't seen
Oh,
that episode. Oh, probably I did, but it's been so long.
Yeah, it's like the very end of the episode where like, you know, he like as an amorphous like space blob is just like, ha ha ha. When you do things right, people won't be sure you did anything at all. And that's
Yeah.
basically what our jobs are. We're meant to kind of be the in like Kabuki, they have kurokos, like the guys in black, and they just kind of like go around the stage like fixing things and like holding people up, and you're not supposed to notice them. You're supposed to like,
yeah.
you know, that's kind of like what we are. We're just like behind the scenes, like making sure that everything runs smooth
Yeah.
and you know, not really be of any notice. Because like, you know, me, I'm like, why the hell would you want to know about me? Like I'm just like the guy. This is like someone else's work, right? Like not like, you know, not me. Like so that's how I look at it. I'm just
Well,
like I'm here for the ride.
you did mention the writing stuff earlier, and I'm like, it makes sense why you're a translator then, because you have something to work off of, but you are like, still writing it in some aspects.
Yeah, no, I'm still writing. I'm just, you know, not in a, you know, in a different sense.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do have to be like kind of like a creative writer in order to like make the word soup that is Japanese, you know, turn into something that's readable.
Yeah.
So,
Was it Cypher Academy's translator? I don't know
yeah.
his name, but
Kumar?
Is
Whoa,
Kumar,
yeah,
yeah.
the other one.
just
Now it's Dan Luffy.
yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, but I think Kumar the first one would just he quit, and I get it. I read the manga, like I
Yeah,
get
no,
it.
no, no, no,
No
no.
fault there. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was one of the titles they tried to like get everyone. They like asked
Oh,
everyone and their grandmother
yeah, fun
to.
fact. That was the first thing Viz ever offered me.
You're like no.
And I was like, I look at it now, and like immediately after the first chapter too, I was like, oh man, I'm kind of really happy that I I was able to like say no thank you, but like thank you for the offer, but
Yeah,
I think I need to skip on this because I haven't even worked with Viz yet.
yeah.
So
That was like something that was bandied about when what was that? Around the time of Ichigoki. So
yeah.
my editor had a choice between Ichigoki and Cypher Academy. And he was like, "Ugh, mine, Ichigoki." And I think the editing went to God, I think it's John Bay. He works on Jujutsu
Yeah.
Kaisen and a lot of other stuff. He's been there for forever. He's a great guy. So great, in fact, that he just was like, "Oh, I want a challenge," and it's like, "Oh, yes,
There
get
you
Yeah,
got
one."
it.
surprise, you got one.
Surprise. And they could not find a translator for it. Like, I think Kumar begrudgingly accepted under like, under the stipulation that it wouldn't be for long or something like that. I can't remember,
Hmm.
but I just know that they tried to ask me, like, and then they tried to ask me again, and then they tried to ask me a third time when they weren't
Oh,
sure, and they like asked everyone else in the meantime. I think like every translator I knew worked for Viz, like as a freelancer,
Yeah.
was asked.
Jeez.
So yeah, it was a nightmare.
I mean, I get it that Inuisin has a reputation for being hard to
hmm.
translate already.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I used to read Medaka Box illegally, of course, because they never translated it.
How dare you?
I'm very sorry. I didn't notice that it was, but it was a long time ago. I wasn't really
Yeah,
aware
it's
of
fine.
that. I
Bust your
w-
balls.
yeah, I wasn't really aware of how hard it could have been, but now even like looking back, like some pages of it, I was like, how the fuck did even someone wanted to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, but
Like when I read Nishio Ishin's work, because I used to read some of his novels,
mhm.
um, like he has like a bunch of them, and they're just like, what in the like they're just like crazy. I can't even describe how like obtuse and labyrinthine their like plot lines and like wordplay goes, and like I'm not translating this.
It's
I would,
very cool, but also um maybe no thank you.
yeah, no, I greatest respect to anyone who actually does
Absolutely.
translate Nisio Nissen stuff, but not me. You'll never see me on a Nisio Nissen work.
No,
Sorry.
I wish I could read Japanese just to be able to experience like its pure
Same.
work, because I don't think it's actually possible. From what I've heard, again, I don't actually know Japanese, so
Mm,
to fully like translate everything, and you can kind of see from Cypher Academy where there's like places where they have to leave the Japanese there, so like
yeah.
people
Oh
can
yeah.
kind of get it. And what I do is like skip. Like I can't. I've given up on like reading the puzzles.
I think a lot of Japanese readers have too.
It makes sense.
Honestly, it's a lot to like take in for a Shonen Jump title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you can. I started liking Cypher Academy when I realized that you could still enjoy the story without actually paying that much attention to the puzzles.
Mm.
yeah, which kind of like defeats the purpose of the puzzle.
True,
You know what
true.
I mean? It's sort of like they're just there as like filler piece, and then like you just kind of yep.
Yeah.
So it's like okay, well, I'm not the author. I'm not the editors at Shueisha HQ. I don't know what their thought process is behind that, but
Yeah,
more power to them, man.
I'm
For
sure
real,
they have
yeah.
their reasons. Yeah. So, like I told you before, I wrote a bunch of stuff in my thing, but I've been out of script so much that I don't know if there's things that I didn't ask.
Hey,
That
man,
just means we're
whatever.
having a good time.
True.
Yeah, it just means we're having a good conversation.
Yeah, it's better this way. I think I prefer to be like a podcast rather than just a pure like
Hmm.
interview, like asking stuff
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah. Don't worry
um,
about it, dude.
one thing that I want to ask about Undead Unluck, because we haven't talked enough about that, was the catchphrase. Because again, I don't speak Japanese. I don't know how the catchphrase like Andy's like sick, wicked sick is.
Mm,
Oh,
mm,
hell yeah.
mm.
So how'd you come up with that, or is it
Oh,
what it is there?
so the Japanese is ine saikoda, which is like great, awesome,
Yeah.
the best, awesome. Like so initially when I like and I talked about this before when I was like doing another thing, but I put good shit and
Because,
sick. Good shit, sick. This is when I first started. This is my first serialized manga translation for Shonen Jump, and I didn't know the rules. I didn't know the rules on cussing, so I was just like, okay, good shit, sick. And my editor was
okay.
like, so we can't use that. So what we're gonna go with is sick and wicked, and that's why in the first chapter, the catchphrase is slightly different. It's if you look at the first chapter, it's
It's like
like at the very end where he's like saying after the moment you met us, your luck ran out. It's sick. There's nothing more wicked than this, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of sick, wicked, sick. Because I think by like either chapter 4 or something like that, that's when it got normalized into the set pattern, or maybe even after that, like
Yeah.
maybe 9 or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
should
Sick
be
doesn't get any more wicked than this.
yeah, there we go. So
Oh, that's still so badass.
True.
yeah, and in the anime they normalized it. I talked to the translator. She's a good friend of mine. And they normalized it to just be sick, wicked sick, so it can just be uniform.
Yeah.
But I like that
I
little
love that.
character. Yeah, I like the little character that adds to the whatchamacallits. But yeah, it was initially good shit. Because
Good
I'm
shit
from
is pretty
Jersey.
good.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey, so like that's how we talk.
I will forever imagine Andy saying that because that's
Good
so
shit.
Andy.
True.
Good shit. Good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Actually,
I say that in normal everyday life, so that's why I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, cool, good shit. Um, but
this
yeah,
Japanese Shonen Jump has swearing, because I normally see like the legal translations of
yeah.
Shonen Jump. They don't have it, But then, if by any chance you see a translation, I think like for My Hero Academia, I think was running on Twitter, like the comparisons of the, like the legal scans. Normally, like for example, Bakugo, he's just like swearing everywhere. I'm curious because it feels like, at least in that case specifically, it feels like someone is exaggerating.
Yeah, so like Japanese doesn't really have swearing per se. They just have like emphatic language. So you just sort of have to like discern whether or not someone's like if you're saying something very forcefully, then you can pepper a little swear in there in a translation. You know what I mean? Like it's not, but they don't really have like swear words per se. There are like naughty words and things you shouldn't say, like, because they're bad to say, but like there's no real swearing. So like anytime you see a swear in a manga, and by swearing I mean like anything harder than like damn or something like that. Even that's like because I don't know if you know this, if you check your Undead Unluck volume on the back of it, it says T plus.
Yeah.
Usually T plus means that you can get away with like hell and damn and ass and those little like ooh he said a naughty word kind of thing, but you can't like go on full fuck shit pussy whatever. Like, you can't like, just go off the rails and just say whatever the hell you want. Bitch, whatever, you can't say that. You just it, but like some series are allowed to do that. Like I think Dan to Dan, because it's rated different, they get to say a little bit more. Like they get to actually use shit or something like that. But like usually for Shonen Jump titles, they try to keep them T plus. I think my editor actually fought to have more swearing because it fit like Andy's character a lot more. And also it made me feel better because I'm a little sweary boy, and
Oh, I was so sad to see this latest chapter of MamaYuyu that came out. They replaced that one panel where Corleo's like, "I'm gonna kick its ass" to "I'm gonna kick its butt."
Yeah,
I was so sad.
I was sad too. I put like because I've done that with ass is usually like the cutoff for most cases. Like I use ass in Undead Unluck, Kaiju number 8. But I guess they're trying to like soften a little bit, just take a little bit of the edge off.
Sure.
Of the manga that starts like the Heldrick horror killing someone.
Yeah, I know, it's like so funny. Yeah. Like we got like people getting dismembered and like bisected.
Take one look at man.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but we can't have him say ass. We can't have him say bitch. Well, whatever. I don't make the rules. I just try to follow them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like if you ever see like the weird like edgy fan scans where they just go like Vegeta's just saying this motherfucking bitch, I'm gonna kill his ass. Like, oh Jesus, cool.
Yeah.
That's tough.
I wanted to know, this should probably been the first question. How'd you guys get into like lettering and translating? Like, oh my God.
I personally, I think the way I got into lettering is very funny, and it is it's because of Sweat and Soap.
Oh.
And so I remember the first volume. I saw the first volume when I went to a bookstore, and if you've seen the cover of volume 1 of Sweat and Soap, it's very suggestive.
Yeah.
And reading the back of it, it's like this guy likes, he's got such a sensitive smell, and this girl, she smells, and then they have a relationship, and I'm like, what? And the cover is just so suggestive. So I was like, I don't know about that. And like 3 weeks of going in and out of the store and seeing it, I was like, all right, I'm gonna get it. It took a month to get it. And then finally I read it and I loved it. And I don't know why. I looked in the back for the credits and I saw like lettering, like translation, all that, and I was like, what the heck is lettering? And so I looked up like Sarah Lindsley. She's wonderful. Um, she was the letterer for it, and she at the time was doing a lot of lettering tutorials and like explanations and stuff while she was still very actively lettering. And I was just like, wow, that was the like moment it clicked where I was like, oh, I guess people do have to do that, but I never thought about it before. And as I said earlier too, like David, I also wanted to like, make my own manga and I was very, draw my little anime characters and stuff. And I was at a weird point in my life too where I was like, I don't really know what I want to do, but let me check this out. And I think it was right as the pandemic had began too in 2020, or like late 2019, whenever the first volume had come out. And so of course I was like at home, I was unemployed, and I was like, now is a good time to just try some stuff. And that was kind of how I had gotten into lettering. And I remember I DM'd Sarah, I think, at one point. I don't fully remember what I asked, but she was so sweet, and she is so kind.
Yeah,
she's the one who really got me connected with people. And of course her tutorials were really nice. Some of my early lettering, the practices she did, I was like, OMG, hi Sarah, here's mine, hee hee. Like, and she's like, wow, it's great, good job. And I think after about probably 2 years of maybe like a year and a half or two, I think I applied to only one publisher and I didn't get it, which was fair because it wasn't great. But it took me a bit to get into it, and then I got started with Iridori, which is where a big chunk of my experience comes from. Especially the hand drawing sound effects part, because if you don't know Iridori, it's mostly not safe for work content.
Yeah.
And they do have the safe for work side, which is where long lost pals living their best life comes from, is Iridori Aqua. That's their like all ages.
Aqua, yeah.
Yeah, that's their all ages side.
'Cause it's clean aqua. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is also why I was like, I use an alias for some of the other things, so
Yeah.
I only have like 2 things that I will namely share from there. But yeah, that's where a lot of my experience comes from with hand drawing sound effects. And I think when I started at Iridori, it was also was the first time I ever used InDesign too. And so I did not use InDesign before then, and so it was a big learning process for me. Like I already knew how to draw, so learning that wasn't as bad, although drawing versus like drawing sound effects is very different. It was a lot. And I feel like I grew a lot in that time, and I'm very happy to be where I am today. So that's my funny story. Sweat and soap.
Sarah was the letterer for ITLC.
Yes,
and that was the first time I ever worked with her, because I knew about her, before that, of course, but like it was the first time I ever actually worked with her, and she's sweetheart, total sweetheart. She works for Viz, like in-house now as on the
back end, I think.
The back end of the website for digital press, if I remember correctly. So she's a total sweetheart, and Sarah Lindsley, you should look her up. She's
Absolutely.
I don't know, she doesn't post as much nowadays, but like she's wonderful. As for me, how I got into translation, I've been fluent. I've been like, I started learning Japanese when I was like 11, 12 maybe. I'm always fuzzy on the date because my memory sucks. But
I don't know how that is.
but I've been learning since I was a kid, and you know, I would around like high school is when I started thinking like, oh, maybe I can take up translation. So I did. I did like um, I didn't start doing like professional work. Back then the internet was a different place. I was a fan translator for a lot of stuff. Um, I was really big in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, so I was doing Yu-Gi-Oh translations, and that actually tempered me to translate harder stuff because Yu-Gi-Oh has like very specific way you have to like translate stuff. And after that, like after I got out of high school, as I was getting out of high school, I started like taking professional work, like not professional work, but like paid work that I could
Hmm.
scrounge up from like Prosy or freelancer.com or wherever the hell I was getting work. Anybody who would take me on, and I steadily gained, my skills from fan translating stuff and doing professional work like that for a while until I was in college and I just had that skill set available to me. But that time I kind of like leaned more into my art side. So I was like, going to college, doing my art degree, and selling art at cons and selling stuff online. And I was taking up graphic design because that I was trying to like do everything. There was nothing that I was not doing at that time um, to try and make a buck. So after about like when I was about to get out of college, that's when I started getting work for Sekai Project, which is a visual novel
Mm.
company and a visual novel slash gaming game company that publishes stuff into English. And I became good friends with the CEO and the founder, and I still do work with them to this date. Very good. I'm always indebted to them. They're great people. And around that time was when I got a little bit before that. I reconnected with an old friend because we had a mutual friend that was going to my college who mentioned
Hmm.
him, and I'm like, "Oh, you know him?" And they were like, "Yeah, we went to the same school together at in Japan." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then I reconnected with him, and he tried to like because we used to be in the same like circles online and stuff like that, and he had worked at Viz, and he was just like, "Yeah, man, I work at Viz now, and blah blah blah, and I'll try and get you in on a project because I know you're really qualified for this one project." And then it's like, "Okay, sweet." And 4 years passed and nothing. And then we finally reconnected on Twitter because we had reconnected on Facebook. Now we reconnected on Twitter, and he talked to me again, and this time he was like, "Yeah, man, I can actually solidly get you in with a project." And it took me a while to realize what he wanted me to get on at first, and it was JoJo's because
Wow.
he actually translated the first three parts of JoJo by himself
Wow.
when he got into Viz as sort of like a baptism of fire kind of like it's like if
Yeah.
you can do this, you can do that. And his editor was actually our MamaYuyu editor, Urian
Oh,
Brown.
nice.
Yeah, so
Oh, I do remember that in the I saw that in the JoJo hardcovers.
yeah, that was the last thing that he edited
Hmm.
before he went to different department. But yeah, he actually got me in, and my first work with Viz Media was like I said earlier, the Tokyo Ghoul art book, Rizaki.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was the first thing I did officially, and I think a few months later, or maybe like I forget when Undead Unluck actually started. I think it was
Uh,
in
March
August.
9.
Well, I'm trying to remember the serialization actually,
Yeah.
like when that started. I think that
Yeah.
was in like
I remember it was I remember, no, I checked earlier my review of the first chapter and I saw it said it was the first batch of the year. So that's why I'm saying March.
Yeah, it was like the first. It came out after Guardian of the Witch, or
Fuck.
oh no, Guardian of the Witch came after that, and then no, Mashal came after that, and
Yeah,
then
it
Guardian
was
of the
Undead
Witch.
Unluck, Mashal, and Guardian of the Witch. That
Yep,
batch. Yeah.
yep. I think it was like February or something like that, or January. So, yeah, the beginning of the year, I started working on Undead Unluck with my current editor, who I love, Carla Clark. She's amazing. And the rest was kind of history. That's kind of like Undead Unluck got me, where I am, and apparently people know me from it. I'm always surprised when people know me from Undead Unluck, which is like, why the hell do you fucking know me? Kind of back of the book, elephant reading weirdo are you?
That would be me.
Yeah, no,
Literally reading the back of the book and being like, "Oh, what's that? I want to know."
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I'm always thankful for people who,
yeah,
shout me and stuff.
I think we need to give a little bit more. I think we are giving a little bit more respect to like translators and that team nowadays.
Yeah.
Which
Well, the thing is, I wanted to mention, I didn't know that they credited people in the chapter when I started.
yeah,
Like, so at the beginning, or usually at the beginning of every chapter, they'll list
yeah.
there's the byline with, the author's name and then the translator and the letterer. I had no idea they were going to do that. I just assumed I was going to be a faceless name, nameless face in the background. And when that happened, I was like, "Oh, there I am!
Surprise.
Cool, surprise! All right, whatever."
Just right below the mangaka.
Yeah, sometimes. I was actually like, I think the first time that happened in Undead was like chapter 11 or 12, and I was just like, "Wow, that's weird." Seeing my name there, that's like a big honor for me, at least. I don't know.
I remember talking about this on Twitter when it happened because like of course having your name in like the credits of something is just cool in general.
Right.
I feel I was telling Crash this when he initially asked me if I wanted to like come do this.
Yeah.
Was that I had like never been asked to interview or talk about stuff before, and I feel like the baby letterer because I've only really been doing it for barely 2 years. And so I helped out with volume 25 of Comey. I helped Kyla like retouch some pages.
Right.
A very small amount of pages. Her stuff in there is amazing. Plus you should just read Comey. It's incredible. And so that was my very first like print credit in like an actual book. And it was actually Sarah too when I talked about it. She was like, "How does it feel to have your name in thousands of books all over the world?" And I was like, "Oh, don't do that to me. I can't even think about that." Like it's wild. It's a very cool feeling, obviously. But especially just as like a manga fan too. I have so much love for it, and so it just makes me happy. Again, that like this is a job that exists. That's cool in and of itself. Like it's such a cool opportunity to be able to give love back in a way to the creators who just pour their heart out for us.
I don't know if you guys want / can talk about the AI thing. Some of the people that I talked with wanted to kind of have like the idea, like translators and letterers think. So for anyone that doesn't have any context, Manga Plus released, I think it was called Rugby Rumble.
Rugby Rumble.
Yeah.
Rugby Rumble, yeah.
And then the lettering was all by through AI, and people noticed pretty quickly that something was off.
Yeah. Immediately.
Yeah, and that was like the first time I actually saw someone people talk about lettering as a big deal. Like, hey, this is what happens when it's done badly. And there were like some really rough spots, like text out of the balloons and things like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
they actually got the translator to
Yep.
redid
Mayamaki, if I remember her name.
Yeah, I followed her on Twitter and she followed me back. I was like, why?
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, what are you guys' opinions, I guess, of this? If you guys can talk, I don't know, because you're
Well,
published in the same place.
I just, we're freelancers first
Yeah.
and foremost. I just want to make sure we don't really have an affiliation with Shueisha or whoever was backing this decision.
Yeah.
Like for the most part, like allegedly they used AI. I have no way of confirming or denying that, aside from the fact that their company says that they specialize in it.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah, like, so whatever they did, whether it be AI or they had Phil from accounting do it, it looked bad. It did not look great. Did not look perfect at all. It didn't look really good. It didn't look in any way. I can't be complimentary of it at all. It
No.
was the shits, and it just. I was like, how in the hell did anyone look at that and let it go out like that?
Yeah.
Know?
The thing that always kind of upsets me about that, like David said, the artist, is ultimately the one that has put this out, and they have poured their hearts out to make something that they love. And I think just releasing something like that is probably one of the greatest disrespects that you could do to the art itself, in the story, in the author. And readers aren't dumb. Readers know what is what's what looks good and what doesn't look good. And having that go out and being like, yeah, this is fine. Who's gonna
notice?
who's gonna notice? It's just really disheartening to see, because there are real people behind all of it, whether it's me or David or the editors or the artists or the entire team who put it all together for people to read. It's just really disappointing to see that kind of stuff, and have someone, whoever had that lettering out there, to be like, yeah, this is acceptable.
Yeah.
What I'll say about the AI thing is that the first chapter only credits the company. The second chapter, which is fairly better, actually, I don't know who it is, but it actually credits the company and the individual from the company that did. So I don't know how they do it, because I'm not there. We can't.
Right.
There was I don't remember what the article is from. I've been trying to hunt for it this whole time, but there was an article that Phil Christie and Liz Blakesley.
Oh, I remember that article. Yeah.
Yeah, they had an article that they spoke about, talking about the whole Rugby Rumble thing, and I don't remember what forum it was on or anything, but if you can find it, it's a really good article with their, they've been in the game for a long, long time.
Yeah, Phil
and
Christie
are very, very talented people.
Yeah,
so.
Phil Christie has done a multitude of things. He's very, very talented. I think either his spouse or his sister, well, I don't know. I think his spouse does lettering as well. Can't remember her name. But it's something Christie. And when I saw it, I'm like, oh, is that Phil's wife or something? But yeah, it's a Japanese name Christie. So I was like, because he lives in Japan. So, but yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject there.
No. Yeah, that if anyone is able to go find that article and read it, they have really spot on opinions about the whole thing because it really
Mhm.
is just kind of sad to see. So
Yeah. I think one of the quotes he said was like, the fact that fans are speaking up about it is a win because it means that
yes,
companies will respect that. Because companies will only really give feedback or like, respond upon things if enough negative feedback comes back
yeah,
Mm.
to warrant a response, essentially. So it's a win for fans if fans speak
yeah.
up.
Yeah, I was actually surprised
Um,
that they corrected it as fast as they did, because
well,
it was a
I'm
couple
surprised that they
years.
even had a translator that could letter. That's like
Yeah.
That is very true. Yeah,
you don't see that a lot. It happens. Like I could technically letter. I don't, but like it does not happen very often that you get someone who can actually letter
I think
to a
actually,
competent level.
I think the only example I can think of is Dobu. Um,
Mm.
I know his name is Robert. I don't remember his last name, but he he's also a translator letterer, and I think he just started doing translation stuff recently. So
Yeah.
it is a highly kind of rare thing.
Yeah. Like you don't see it very often. There are some other ones. I think for a while the translator of Yozakura was also the letterer,
Mm.
but for the simulpub version, and like a few others, but like it is not a very common occurrence. So that alone is a very like weird thing, you
Hmm.
know? So
It was a good coincidence, I guess.
yeah, no, it was like they lucked out like crazy with that one. And
Yeah,
another thing about like Manga Plus in general, and I'm not trying to be disparaging at Manga Plus because they are, they're
sure.
they're technically a subsidiary of
Hmm.
Shueisha, just like Viz is, and they do their own thing, but they basically do their own thing.
Yeah.
Like they do their own thing. I think they actually announced like every Jump Plus title is going to be like new Jump Plus title will be translated in some way, shape, or form, or something like that, which is
Yeah.
why Rugby Rumble is even like being simulpubbed. Um, but the problem is I don't think they have like
Resources.
not even the resources, just the um coordination,
Mm.
because they don't have the kind of setup that Viz does. Because Viz has been doing this for so long and they've been in print so long that they have like quality control out the wazoo. Like there's so many people
Mm.
checking every chapter before it goes live at Viz, um, that I don't even know how many people look at it. Like
Yeah.
I only know about like one or two, but it could be like the whole freaking editorial that looks at it.
Hmm.
But with Manga Plus, it doesn't seem like they seem like they hire agencies that if you ever look at some of the credits, if they do credit the people, it'll be an agency, and in this case, like Orange is like an agency that they use to for lettering and stuff like that. Sometimes they use Medibang,
Yeah.
um, and I think some people use Amimaru. They
Mm.
they're like two big ones.
Hmm.
They they tend to pop up here and there. So there's just not the quality control that you get. There was another title, I think it was like My Yakuza Neighbor or whatever it was called. Um, and it that was in the news for a little bit because of the first chapter having really bad lettering. Like, I
I
mean,
noticed that.
it was rough. Like
Was
with
it? I don't
already,
think I saw that. Was it the same as Rugby Rumble?
um, it wasn't like text sticking out of the box and balloons kind of bad. It was
Mm.
more like the translation was incomprehensible.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh.
yeah, like the translation was done by like a Swedish person that I could only find on LinkedIn, and they were like, I've never heard of them before in my life.
Huh.
So, I think it was called like Me and My Gangster Neighbor or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's what it was called, Me and My Gangster Neighbor. And they actually did redo the first chapter later, but the first it was pretty bad. Just translation quality wise, because it
Hmm.
was just ugh.
I feel like Manga Plus, especially now that they have a paid subscription, which is a new thing,
Yeah,
they, I guess they want to have enough material to justify that.
yeah,
Especially for people like in the case of like America, you guys have the Shonen Jump Plus, the Shonen
yeah,
Jump app, which we don't.
yep,
Hmm.
So you have even less reasons to join Manga Plus, the subscription. I mean, I did because that's the only way I can read some of these manga.
hmm,
Hmm.
But I feel like they want to have that vault just like Viz has, and
yeah,
they need to do it now, I guess. I wish they
hmm,
could, and I guess they can because they have it. Like pick stuff from the Viz's vault that they don't have yet, like
yeah.
Do
See,
Do
that's
Show,
the
for example.
yeah. But the thing about that is like that's usually something that because they're not coordinated, like you know what I mean. Like they can't just pick and choose. They kind of have to like ask like in it. I don't really know the situation behind that, but
Mhm.
I just know that like whatever Manga Plus puts on their website usually has to go through Viz, as opposed to going through Shueisha.
Yeah.
But like whatever they have on their website, they can use. Like, for example, I translate Kaiju number, right?
Yeah.
You've noticed that on Manga Plus, there's a version that's not translated by me, right?
I remember I've because the original translation was not by Viz that
Mhm.
I remember. But
But it
so
so
the translation that is on Manga Plus is not yours.
no,
I didn't
you
know
could
that.
yeah. So there's a version on Manga Plus. If you go in there, you just type in Manga Plus and Kaiju number 8, you'll be redirected to Monster number 8.
What?
Um,
Yeah.
because it got so they released that I think a week before the Viz version went
Wow.
live, and we thought that it was just going to stop after a certain point. And like, oh, okay, they're just going to coordinate. I think that happened with Spy Family. They had like Manga Plus version, and then Viz made their own,
Yeah,
and
they
then they
removed
just
it.
started using the Viz version,
Yeah.
and but no, they just kept on going. It just kept
Wow.
on going. It's still going. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
You're right. Chapter 94, Shane Kalchek translation.
Yeah. And oh, is it because there's been like 15 translators for that.
This is the
Whoa.
last chapter.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, there's been like 15 like when I initially announced that I was going to be translating the Kaiju number 8, someone who said that they were the Manga Plus versions translator was like, "Oh, I'm translating this too. Let's do our best." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
That's very interesting.
It's
It's
like,
so
"Oh,
weird.
sure. Gambarimasu. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be saying. Um, but yeah, it's been, and I sometimes peek in there, and there's no consistency between terms and stuff like that. So, like I said, they don't have the um, coordination that Viz does. So it's just like get it
That's
up
so
there. It's
strange.
fine. Yeah, I don't know why they did that either. Like I said, I don't know, but
Hmm.
It
I
is
just know
weird.
it happens.
Yeah. It's kind of strange to have
So
like two English translations of the same thing at the same time.
at the same time,
Yeah.
for the same franchise,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
the official Kaiju Twitter only links to this version because it's on Manga Plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Because in Portuguese we have like the Portuguese and then the Brazilian translations,
Right, right.
but that's like the languages are slightly different and they're from different countries, so it makes
Slightly
perfect
different.
sense.
It's not just English and weird English. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's not like English weirder version of the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just kind of strange.
Yeah.
So, not throwing
Hmm.
shade at whoever works. I'm like, there's a lot of the
There's a
letterer
there's a
for the Manga Plus version is a very established editor, very established letterer, and I know him. Kaikyo, you know, he's very good letterer. It's just that the project in general is just weird to me. And I felt like I had to
it's
bring it up in some way, shape,
yeah.
or form.
It's a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff that is like just totally out of freelancers' hands anyway, because
Yeah,
we're freelancers. So
right.
there's a lot of stuff that, it just happens,
Yeah.
and that's just it.
You guys gotta accept the jobs, and that's everything else is not really in your control, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we get to accept the jobs. We get to, want to.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, I'll just take any old goddamn thing. Like,
Cypher Academy.
usually.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, no thank
Oh,
you.
sign me up. Ugh.
I want to end with one final question, which is, what's your favorite manga, like, of all time?
Oh no. I hate that question. It's so hard.
That,
Yeah.
It's so hard for me as well. Generally, my pick generally is Zorodoro. But also like One Piece and Lavina and a lot of stuff.
Mm.
What's your guys' favorites? That you didn't work on, I guess.
Finn, if you want to take it first.
I'm
think
thinking
you-
so hard right now, actually.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think I have a couple, but part of it is things that I'm still ongoing, like reading.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One is definitely Berserk, that I only started within the last few years, and I've been reading it very slowly, but it quickly became one of my favorites. And I guess I don't count this. Komi Can't Communicate is one of my favorites. I only
Good, though.
I only helped a little bit on it, and it's like it's so tiny,
Yeah.
so it's so little.
Yeah.
I've been with Komi since like day one, basically, and I absolutely adore it.
Kami actually made me go back to manga in a way, because I stopped reading for a while
Oh,
because I
wow.
was tired. And I got some free time when I changed jobs, because they spent the first half a year without actually giving me anything to work at my job. I was like, I can read manga. And then I had seen like some images of Kami, and she looked adorable. But
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
check this out. And first chapter, I fell in love. I think
Yeah.
there's some stuff where I'm like, it's just like fluff. But when the moments where it's really really good, it's
Oh yeah, when it gets into its like kind of more serious, not jokey moments,
Yeah.
it hits so good.
yeah.
I think my last two additions to some of my favorite manga right now is My Dress Up Darling. I adore My Dress Up Darling, and Ajin Demi-Human. I love those series.
I haven't read any of those. I know what they are, but I haven't read.
Ajin is very good.
It looks
Just don't watch the
interesting.
anime. Don't watch the anime for that.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Well,
You know what? I watched it after you get past the weird 3D modeling stuff. It's really good.
oh, okay. I just couldn't get past that. I was like, oh god.
It is kind of weird. Sometimes it feels really choppy, but
Yeah.
if you accept it and if you accept it, it was really really good. So
It's like Akonohane and accepting that the rotoscoping.
Rotoscoping, yeah.
Yeah.
well, it's like the Berserk animes too. You know, there is a good one,
Uh-huh.
like the '97 one that everyone likes,
yeah.
And
tell
then
me
the
why,
2013
tell me why.
and then like
that.
the 2013 or whatever one.
Yeah.
That
But the-
everyone's like, no.
the movies were also in 3D were pretty decent, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, the movies were all right. Like they had more of a budget,
Yeah.
so they didn't skimp out on the animation. So like I almost called him Berserk. Guts isn't like just shadow puppeting, like he's
Yeah.
like puppet walking, like yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Like doesn't do that.
I've only seen like gifs of it, So I've only seen the worst parts.
I haven't seen either of the movies for Berserk, but I've heard a lot of things about them. So
I've seen the I don't think I've seen the final movie. I've seen the first two and they were pretty good. From what I remember.
Yeah, I've seen them both. They're decent movies.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm tired of the golden age already. Like, just,
yeah,
like,
oh yeah,
get
yeah,
past
yeah,
this.
Yeah, sure.
Get somewhere else.
yeah.
Kind of interjected in your favorites telling. I'm sorry about that, Finn.
No, I'm done. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So like my favorite like shonen manga is actually Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I love Yu-Gi-Oh. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is like my favorite. I want to say it's like my favorite manga of all time, but that's like kind of like I don't really have favorites, but Yu-Gi-Oh has been such a integral part of my life and career and inspiration that I can't say that it's not like at least somewhere in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's actually how I got into JoJo because Kazuki Takahashi, God bless his soul, he was that was one of his favorite series, so I checked it out because of him.
Aw.
Yeah, so that was like one of the things that really got me into that scope of manga from that time period and really
Wow.
made me discover stuff from back in the day, like, back before I was born, basically. Back, so I went from 80s to 70s, 60s. I went like down the line because of that. So I owe a lot to Yu-Gi-Oh. I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. Just its themes, its characters, I love it with all my heart, soul. If it weren't for Yu-Gi-Oh, I wouldn't have met my friend who works at Viz, who got me the job. So I wouldn't have this job. I wouldn't be speaking to you right now. I am eternally grateful for it, and I can't say enough good things about it. I think what was it? Just recently, another manga YouTuber did a video on Yu-Gi-Oh. What is Trenton?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trenton or Doofy, they both friend of mine who did like Yu-Gi-Oh videos recently.
Yeah.
You're
and,
probably watching this video as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Trenton, if you're out there, great job.
What's
He
up?
did a video. Yeah, he did a video on the Anchor Deathmatch battle in Yu-Gi-Oh, and that was one of my favorite moments. And it's just really nice to see someone earnestly talking about Yu-Gi-Oh as not like just like top death, like it's like the manga's super hardcore and you should read the stuff that doesn't have the card game in it because the other stuff's lame and for babies. Like,
Oh my god.
it's just so weird, like the dichotomy of like people who talk about it. So it's nice to have like just people who are like just earnest opinions about it, or just like not hype beast, like with weird production values, spending them in the wrong places. But yeah, and I mean, aside from that, like I really do love. Well, I work on City Hunter now. I can't even say that. Sorry. I'll try to see what happens if we can just open that up. But like, they're so weird to talk to.
Here, I'll say one for you. An additional favorite, Undead Unluck.
Oh,
Since you can't say it, I'll say it.
And their luck is.
Jesus Christ.
It's so good. Like especially I liked it since like page 1. When she's closes the book and is like, now I'm gonna hang myself. Like
I didn't realize how funny that line was until I saw it in the anime.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like and she's just like, all right, I've finished my favorite manga. Time to fucking kill myself.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Like, what?
okay.
I love that. I got sold in that, but like especially when we get like the Gina arc and then we got
Mhm.
Rose and everything. It's easily one of my favorite like shown ongoing Jump titles right now.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Like I loved it ever since I got the concepts. That's why I was like, I'm like, it's not just like a job to me when I've been around something for that long because it's been
Yeah.
like what 3 years, 3+ years,
Yeah.
and man, like I remember just getting like the because when they want you to accept something or like you want to like look over something and it's almost final to accept a job like doing simuls, they'll give you like a little booklet with like the concept sketches
Mm-hmm.
and like the storyboards for like the first one or two, maybe three chapters ahead. And just like looking at that stuff now in retrospect, it's like crazy just to think that I was there that long to like see
Yeah.
these characters, grow up.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's
I'm getting choked up just thinking about it.
I can
I'm
hear
sorry.
it. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Sorry.
oh.
yeah.
Sorry.
And especially like the recent arcs. I love seeing like Fuku's growth.
Oh,
Like the way
Fuko
that
is such a
she,
badass.
yeah, the way that she
Yeah.
is now, like remembering when she was like chapter one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Just this pudgy little girl with long hair crying. And now she's
Yeah.
like doing Tetsuzankos at people. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. I love it.
Yeah. I hope it continues for a while longer. Um,
Uh,
and I
Yeah, I
hope
hope it
CC
never ends.
Yeah.
I mean, I never wish that as a One Piece fan. There are times I'm like,
Oh, yeah, no.
I do want to see what the One Piece is. But I hope
It's the friends we made along the way, dude.
I was literally gonna say that.
it's the journey.
It's the journey.
God.
Like, yeah, no, but I mean, I do want it to end, but I don't
get
want
it.
it to end at the same time, like,
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
I've
I
just,
know what
you know.
It's immediately how I feel about MamaYuyu.
you mean.
Oh yeah,
It's like I wanted to breathe. Give it, please. He's cooking. Let him
Yeah,
cook.
yeah, no,
Like,
let me cook.
I hope it lasts so long. It's really hard for any like starting manga in Shonen Jump to even last like 20 chapters. So
mhm.
I'm always like kind of sad when I like a manga from chapter 1, like Mama Yuyu Sakamoto Days. I'm like, I like this one. So I'm afraid now. But I hope it lasts.
Well, we can only hope, and we will try our best to do as much as we can behind the scenes to
Truly.
ensure that it looks presentable.
Truly.
And thank you
So-
guys for that, honestly.
It's no problem. I mean, it's our jobs.
Yeah.
Our jobs,
So-
and I love it. So
Yeah,
it works out.
Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it here. Again, thank you guys for coming. And I don't know how long we've been talking, but it's a while.
It's a couple hours now. It's about 2
Yeah.
hours exactly
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, so I think this is gonna be the biggest video on my channel. So that's cool.
Nice.
But yeah,
You
I
could
love it.
you probably edit some of this out.
Yeah.
But-
I'll
Some of the
try.
sniffling and the silence,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. But yeah, thank you guys for coming, and
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, dude.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Yeah,
It
thank
was.
you.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
And for everyone at home, there should be a video on the left and on the right, because I always put them there for you to watch if you lasted this long. And if you lasted this long, thank you very much, and I'll see you next video.